Thunder's back. I'm going to do a video today on survival. I've done them a bunch of times, and I always come from this angle of nature. I kind of got inspired to do this because I saw a interview today about what would happen if the shit hits the fan here and things start going down. But first, let me say something about my last video. I really appreciate the response on that, and I notice I got a few more hits. Probably will get a lot more. It was a pretty deep subject, and it was about levels of awareness and frequencies and that type of thing. And actually, I'm kind of proud of it. I watched it, and yeah, I think that there was a lot of good information in there. So anyway, and I appreciate the comments always and the fact that you share. Now, I have a drum up here on the wall that's got a thunder being or a thunderbird on it. I should take that down and start beating on it because that's kind of what I'm going to be doing here, beating the drum again. I know people have heard some of the things I have said over and over, but I'm getting new subscribers all the time, and I think that survival is a real important thing, and not just because there could be a big economic financial collapse or there could be civil unrest, but a lot of things could happen. There could just be like blackouts, grids going down, electrical grids going down, that type of thing. In the interview that I saw today, this guy was touching on that fact, and I've talked about this many, many times. I might not have gotten into the exact, let's say, description of how things would go down or how things could happen, but I have touched on it. Okay, but now I'm thinking like, well, you know what? I might as well go over some of this stuff because it's always useful. So let's take a scenario here. Let's just look at, like, I'm always talking about survival in cities and how rough it's going to be, and most people aren't going to make it. And then I talk about nature, and I talk about being in tune with nature. And I also talk about how we've let nature down. We've kind of turned our back on nature. And if you let nature down, nature's going to let you down. Okay, if you don't know how to cope with it or get to it or be with it or be at one with it. So anyway, some points that I heard today that reminded me of points that have made before had to do with grids going down, and I talked about grids going down in the sense of, like, if we had a sunspot, which is entirely possible, a sun flare, an X-class flare, like happened back in the 1800s, the Carrington event. I've talked about that, where telegraph wires literally melted because of an X-class flare. Now, if telegraph wires would melt or quit working, what do you think would happen to all this sophisticated electronic stuff that we have running our infrastructure? And let me emphasize the word infrastructure here, because we have a piss poor infrastructure, and you know, this thing I heard today readily made that apparent and reminded me of the fact that our infrastructure, like the water system, is not based on gravity fed. It's based on electric pumps. It used to be gravity fed from the mountains and on down to the taps and that type of thing, where you could turn on tap water and maybe still get some water, but That's not in effect today in cities. It's all run by electrical pumps. And if the electricity goes out, there's going to be no water. And like was pointed out in this interview that I heard today, this is kind of like the raw truth, no pun intended, but there will be no flushing of toilets, so disease will be rampant. There will be no water to drink. There will be no communications. Everybody is super reliant on all the communications, like cell phones, that'll be all down, and internet, and there will be no more dial-up phones even those will go down. So if you're in a city, you're basically out of luck unless you have really, really prepared big time, okay? And that's why thunder, here comes the drum beating again, boom, 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 boom. Thunder keeps talking about getting land for the Campfire Council outside the city in some remote spot. Am I stupid? No, I'm not stupid. I'm right on the money, okay? And it's just people don't listen. But when the shit hits the fan in the cities, guess where people are going to like try to get to? They're going to try to get to nature. They're going to try to get to places outside the city, and they're probably half of them, a quarter of them won't even make it. They won't even make it. There'll be gridlock on the freeways. There'll be traffic jams, and just traffic won't be moving. There'll be fights. There'll be people running out of gas because there won't be any gas. And Thunder has said all this stuff before. I've said all this stuff before. I said there won't be any food on the shelves because the railroad, which I am totally familiar with, the railroad and other means of shipping are going to just shut down. Okay. Now this is all predicated on the fact that a grid could go down, an electrical grid. Well, the guy I was watching today said he was kind of old school and kind of not with it in a lot of ways. Not like maybe Tom Brown Jr., who's the world's greatest survivalist and has an open mind and has a native spiritual mind. This guy was kind of like into the, the old, the Islamic terrorist thing, but that didn't discount what he said about what would happen if the grids went down. And he was saying, well, it could go down because of an attack, and how easy. Now he had some good points, how easy it would be to get in a back door because there's back doors left open purposely, and how easily it would be to take down these grids or these like say the infrastructure, say the electrical supply or the water supply or the both of these supplies, how easy it would be to shut them down because the computer technology was archaic when they were put in, and it would be like a kid opening a box of Cracker Jacks, okay? So it would be real easy for anybody. Now, will it be Islamic terrorists? Well, probably not. It would probably be our own government posing as Islamic terrorists. And when this guy was talking, I was like going, bingo, that's probably how they will affect a deterrent or a distraction, maybe, to the current economic situation or financial crisis. Now, as I'm talking about the financial crisis, the stock market is soaring back up, I think. I don't know, I haven't looked at it today, but it was on its way back up, and everything's hunky-dory again, and all these people are saying how good it's looking and how good our economy is. And I told you these people have a propensity for pushing this stuff way beyond the limits of anything rational or anything that anybody could imagine. Because again, they're in control of the computers, and they're in control of all the statistics, all the computers, all the countries that have the computers. What can't they control? What can't they make look good? Well, there isn't anything they can't make look good, because they're the masters of deception. But that doesn't mean you should go around feeling real comfortable and at ease, even if they prop it up for years. They've already propped it up for years. And it's just going to take some event, like I said before, that they can't cover their ass for quickly enough before the masses go, and then they have to pull something like what I'm talking about, like a phony false flag terrorist attack on our infrastructure. And it wouldn't have to be our whole infrastructure. It could be just one big part of a city. Okay, one part of a city, or one part of a group of cities, or it could be one part of the United States, which is probably more likely. Not one part of a city, but one part of the United States. Just enough to cause havoc for a distraction. But regardless of what happens or how it comes about, everybody should know that we're kind of like walking on the edge of this happening. I mean, this could happen readily, even because our infrastructure is so poor. I mean, they're building all these buildings, like right here in my block. I look out the window, and I was looking out last night, and I saw this big apartment building, like, maybe 6 blocks away. Then I saw another building and another building. And as it was getting dusk, as the sun was going down, I saw the lights starting to come on in some of these apartments. And one whole apartment building, I'd say 2/3 of it, or maybe the whole thing, didn't have any tenants in it. No lights were coming on in the windows. And I'm like, holy shit. There's like apartments all over the place that these people have built for, like, what, tax write-offs and who knows what their agenda is, but they're totally vacant. There's like 1 or 2 people in like a 17-story. And this is in San Diego, and I've noticed this before. But then you go down to the street level and you look, and there's people lying homeless on the sidewalk with a 17-story building that's vacant. So I guess my point with that is, here they're building all these buildings. I didn't mean to get off on a tangent, but they're building all these buildings, but there's no infrastructure. The water, the sewer. I mean, right here in my own apartment, the water went out the other day, boom, like that. And it was like something broke, and it was like it was out for the whole day. And the water company was here, and it was like there was no warning, nothing. Okay. So you don't take a shower, you don't wash your dishes, you don't flush the toilet. Okay. So that really emphasizes the impact of what could happen. It could happen, boom, just like it did to me the other day. Now, fortunately, it was a one-day thing, but any longer than 1 day, 2-3 days, then you're getting critical. And so the deal is that you have to be ready. Okay. Now, Tom Brown Jr., who I've talked about before, the world's supreme tracker and survivalist, and I'm into that stuff because that's what I did mainly when I was in my younger years in Arizona. He talks about urban survival, and he talks about how bad it would be if the shit ever hit the fan. And he also talks about how bad it is just period right now. with the pollution and the poisonous, noxious crap all over the earth and everything. That's why I like him, because he comes from a place of a Native American place. He was trained by an Apache medicine man. But the point is that you're going to have to learn either how to die right or survive. Okay, and it's going to come down to that. At some point, somewhere. I don't mean to be a doom and gloomer. I'm not. I'm a realist. Okay. And I look at things, and when I see things happen like the water going out just for a day, I realize how bad the infrastructure is, and I realize how negligent people are, and I realize that yes, there could be a complete breakdown from a computer point of view, okay, because we're too reliant on technology. We become way too reliant on technology. And so from a computer point of view, all the infrastructure, all the grid systems, the electrical grid, the water, everything that communications, everything that we rely on could be boom, like that, gone, okay? And there's so many various ways that it could go. Just hot days, people having too much air conditioning and this and that on, and poor infrastructure, and our own country doing a purposeful false flag. And I don't know about other countries. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's possible, and they would blame it on other countries. But getting back to the survival thing, if you don't have a plan for getting out of town and a plan for a place to go, and if you are not locked and loaded and have firearms to allow you to escape, because you're going to have to fight your way out, if you don't have key members or people around you that you can travel in a group, to protect yourself, to make your way out of town, you're shit out of luck. If you're in a city, you'll probably die fighting or fending people off. Or look what happened in the Rodney King thing in L.A. Just a riot in L.A. Okay, truck drivers were pulled out of their trucks and beaten to almost to death, and there won't be any food being delivered, people. I got news for you. And there won't be any trains coming in and out, and there won't be any government people around to protect you. See, that's their whole false thing. Let us protect you and take your rights away because we could be attacked by terrorism and this and that. But if truth be known, if there was a real situation where everything went down, they wouldn't be there. It'd be just like the ineptness or the purposeful ineptness involved with Hurricane Katrina and that superstorm Sandy, and we saw what happened there. This guy made a statement today I kind of liked. He said, "Yo-yo, you're on your own." Yo-yo, you're on. I like that. You're on your own, baby. When you're on your own, and you got these hordes of vicious people, and people will turn vicious. Okay. The normal family man on the street, if he thinks that his family is threatened, or he thinks that he's not going to get out with his family alive, he will turn into a maniacal, murdering maniac, okay? And take your guns and your food and your car and your whatever he needs. People will go berserk. It will be a zombie apocalypse like you've never friggin' seen. Now, this is all down here in this illusory duality, the illusion that we know, that we operate in here. So can we go beyond this? Well, yeah. I mean, it's a matter of fearing death or not. And if you don't fear death, well, then I guess it's no big deal. I mean, personally, I would just say, okay, it's over. Boom. It's going to be over anyway someday. So, being as I am in the city, guess I'd have to accept what's laid on my plate, just like anybody will. Save the last bullet for yourself. Just like, you know, when you got captured in the Old West. That's what they always said. Save the last bullet for yourself. But that doesn't mean that I can't sit here and beat my drum and say people should be aware, because I don't want people to go down. Man, that's the last thing in the world I want. I would hate to see this stuff, really. It's like, man, if you see this stuff, that's not a good way to go out. It's not a good way to go out. And that's why I beat this drum over and over and over again about people forming up. That's why I formed the Campfire Council. That's why I talk about getting land outside the cities, because truthfully, even let's say, you know, we had land outside of a city in a remote area, would our chances be better of surviving? Hell yes. They would be multiplied 10 times. But does that mean we'd survive? Does that mean that people will pour out of the city in the millions, okay, and all of a sudden try to rediscover nature? Man, that's going to be a sad state of affairs. And see, this is all because, I mean, if you really want to trace this back, it's all because European man came over here and killed all the indigenous people and didn't live and learn from them. Now, the mountain men, I've said this before, did, and they actually became like Indians and lived off the land, and pretty soon they hated their own people. They viewed civilization as an encroachment upon their paradise, so to speak, because they knew what the Indians had. And they became friends with the Indians, even though at times they got into scuffles with them. And so it's really a matter of karma, kind of. I mean, look at it. It's a matter of karma's a bitch. Sometimes it catches up with you and bites you in the ass. And that's exactly what's going to happen to these descendants of the European man that came over here. They will go, people are so complacent. They have no idea what's going to happen. I've talked about this from martial arts aspect too, in a predatory aspect. The predators that are going to be out in force, raping and pillaging, finding young women, you know. I mean, it won't even be young women. It'll be everybody. And I've given lessons on how to take care of yourself and fight. And if you go back in the archives here, hair-raising stuff. How to use weapons and how to survive. And so why am I doing this now? Because I think it's just a good time to review it for some reason. I just feel like, well, everybody's talking about something happening here real soon. So just the fact that they're all talking about it, they don't realize, like my last video about frequencies and manifestation and all this stuff, they don't realize that it could become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know? I mean, if enough people on the planet are all talking about, hey, it's going to go down in September, and the government's going to do this, and the government's going to do that, and it's, let's say that all of it is just pure, unadulterated imagination. or speculation without any basis. And we know there is a basis. I mean, we could just look around and see. We can see chaotic conditions, let's put it that way. So even if it was like, I mean, even if a quarter of it was just speculation, but it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. People talk about it so much that either the government goes, yeah, they're expecting it anyway, so let's just spring it on them now, or the government propagated the rumors in the first place so they could spring it on us, or people are just feeling things like looking around and going, man, the world's getting weird, man. I feel like something's See, it could be any of those things, but there's a lot of people talking about it. And so that shows on all kinds of levels that there's dissatisfaction. It shows dissatisfaction. It shows people, there's actually people that want things to happen so that it will come to a head because life is too hard. It's too hard. It's getting too out of control. It's getting too weird. They can't handle it. So they want it to go down. So they talk about it going down. And they look at it as a sort of a savior type thing where, well, yeah, if it goes down, that means God stepping in or Jesus Christ is stepping in. You heard my last video about that. I'll tell you one thing, you do not want to see it happen. You really don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see it happen. I can honestly say I don't want to see it happen. I would like to see things come to a head. I would like to see things correct. I would like to see a spreading of Christ consciousness where everybody changes and wakes up and things change in a gradual manner, or things change in a manner perpetuated by an in control opposing force. But to just have things break down, society break down, and collapse, and the grids go out, and there be like a Mad Max type dog eat dog, literally, world, cannibalism. I mean, we're talking all kinds of things here, horrific things. Do I want to see that? Hell no. Would anybody in their right mind want to see that? And I don't want to see that for the members of the Campfire Council, and I don't want to see that for any members of any group. Anybody. But I was specifically thinking about that when I formed the Campfire Council, and I was thinking, rather than just be an outright militia group, which I guess, the council could be called that too if we believe in firearms, and I do, but it's not a group that would try to usurp power against the government. It's a group that's protecting itself from whatever the government does or whatever people do. It's a tribal thing. And so there's safety in the fact that we're bonding together and maybe getting land and covering each other's ass in a lot of ways. But if we can't do that, then at least I can make these videos and propagate some thinking on this subject, okay? So that people have a tendency to, yes, we do need to band together. Yes, we do need to take some kind of action. Because frankly, that's going to be the only thing that's going to save your ass. It's going to be the only thing that's, if this system goes on and I just really can't see it going on too much longer without something happening. There's just too many weird incidents. I'm surprised that the nations haven't blown themselves up as it is. I mean, there's got to be, sometimes I think, and I might do a video on this, might be my next video, Probably should have done that one instead of this one, but anyway. Uh, that will be on Star Brothers and Sisters. That will be forces outside what we can comprehend, and that's not a subject that I consider far out. I consider it very, very possible. In fact, it's probable. Okay. That there's other third parties that we don't know about. The Hopi saw them. The Hopi put pictographs on the walls of people suited up, ready to go. Space travel, all kinds of things. Building their kivas facing constellations. So that's a whole nother subject I'll get into. But for today, this is what I got into, and it's just to re-emphasize. I kind of got inspired off that thing. It's just to re-emphasize the importance of brotherhood. I guess that's, the importance of not what that guy said, you're on your own, but you're with others, You're with others. You're bonding together, and you're with others, which is going to make things a hell of a lot better if anything really happens. Okay. And if and when it does happen, if you're with others, then you're going to feel a heck of a lot better. Even if you have to fight and go down together, you're still going to feel better than you are if you were completely alone. There's a certain bullet that you have to bite, no pun intended, if you're alone or if you're isolated. You have to come to terms with certain things, like Thunder has. Out here in the city all alone. Poor me. But there's a lot of you guys that are in cities, and you're really all alone. Let me emphasize that. You're really all alone. I don't care if you got a girlfriend or a wife or a couple of buddies. You're really all alone unless you really form up with other people. Because that's the only way that I see that you're gonna be able to either get out of a city or form a group with outside of a city. And it is an excellent idea to have a base, okay, that you can go to, even if you live in the city, a base of operations where you can grow food. And this has to be a cooperative effort, a co-op, like a co-op, bunch of people going in together. And man, that's the best investment you could make. I mean, you could stand here all day and think about, I could invest in silver, and I could invest in gold, and I could get a new car, and I could store up lots of food, I could do this, and I could do that. But the best investment you can make is to get a base of operations. Okay, a base of operations to go to. I don't care if we're spread all over the country. If we could get to it, then it's a viable thing. Of course, the ideal thing would be not waiting to get to it, but going there now. Going there now, because this is inevitable, people. I can't stress this enough. I don't care how it's going to come down, whether it's in a year or 2 years, or if you look around, you can see that things are coming apart at the seams on a spiritual level. As above, so below. So if it comes apart on a spiritual level, it's totally tattered and blown to smithereens on a spiritual level. There's no cohesiveness, so it's going to come apart. The physical manifestation is evident. It's Probably already happening as I'm speaking here. I've said that before too. So the longer you wait around and the longer you diddle around and the longer you just sit here and watch thunder on a video and you don't, and even if you can't do it within the Campfire Council, do it. Do it. Put a base of operations for yourself outside your city, outside somewhere. If you have to go up into the wilderness and stake out some land and bury some things and put stuff there, do it. I guess you don't really need to buy land if you can find some that's way outside somewhere that you can stash some stuff away for you and your family if you need to get out there. And you know what? We should all be living like that anyway. We should all be living tribally. We should all be living next to nature. That's where everything went wrong. And if you talk about corrections, that's what's going to correct. It's not the stock market and the financial market and all these other things. The big correction is going to be when we went off the mark getting away from nature, and then that's, boom, going to snap back and correct on all of us. Okay? Everyone, because you can't get that far away from nature and into technology and relying on technology, because technology is going to bite you in the ass. It's going to fail. It's set up to fail, because if one thing goes wrong, all kinds of things go wrong. If one system goes down, all kinds of grids and related systems are going to go down. So keep that in mind. I think I'll leave it there today. I'm getting wound up. Must be the heat here. It's almost 90 degrees in San Diego right now with high humidity. It's unheard of. Just another phenomenal thing that's not normal. You know, it's not normal here. Never used to get above 75. So there you go. There's a good example of it. Anyway, keep in touch with me on the comments and everything. I really like to hear that, and I really like to hear people's comments, and makes me feel like I'm doing some good here, and makes me feel like I'm joined up with the brotherhood and sisterhood of people that care. All right, I'm out of here. Gonna go get on my shortwave radio, I guess. Makes me feel like I could get out of here real quick. I did contact some people in Florida the other day on a piece of wire strung across my balcony from San Diego to Florida, like 3,000 miles. So that's another thing that you should have in a base camp is means of communications like this. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Over and out.